Today, we're pouring mud. I'm gonna share with you everything I've learned in the 6 years that I've been pouring concrete and the little tricks of the trade. How's my hair? Hair's looking good? So the first thing we're gonna do is obviously talk about the preparation, the base. That's the really most important. First, you gotta dig out a bunch of soil. You gotta find the level. So right now, the level is the sidewalk. We have to get the level from the sidewalk to the sidewalk we're pouring right now. After that, we excavate about 8 inches. This is a 4-inch pad. We're gonna pour a 4-inch pad. So we have to excavate 8 inches of soil. Then put in 4 inches of base rock. Okay, we put that in. Afterwards, the forms. These forms are 1x4. I used to use bender board. That's what bender board looks like. And it's more expensive than the forms you get that are wood. I wish someone would have told me a long time ago. These forms, you can get at Home Depot. They're 1x4s, wood. They're cheap. They're really easy to stretch and bend and curve. Way better than the bender board plastic, because the plastic ones are 20 bucks of each. The walkway is 4 feet, so you got to measure and make sure everything is exactly correct. 4 feet everywhere. Line them up, stake them down, make sure they're good. Check the levels again. Make sure you got a slope, and then throw in the rebar. And now this is where we're at. So now we got the stakes holding everything in. These are the 1x4s, and these are the pieces used to hold everything together with screws. Okay, everything is very nice. These are level, right? There's obviously a little bit of a slope going this way for the water to drain, so there's no puddles. And then we have 3/8 rebar installed in here. 4-inch pad, 3/8 rebar. 6-inch pad, 1/2-inch rebar. Hi.
Well, Roger was always cool. But Will, you held the calm down because we're giving them a lot of work. We're giving us over 100 yards before.
This is Adrian. Adrian is the pump guy. I met him through YouTube. He reached out to me. He's like, hey dude, I live in your area and I'm a pumper. I pump concrete. And I'm like, no way. There he is. Now he's officially my pump guy. When I met him, he had 1 pump, right? Now you got 4.
Now I got 4 pumps.
Crazy. How old are you?
I'm 24.
24 years old.
Yeah, I graduated college last year and went all in the concrete industry.
Yeah.
Got my contractor license and running 4 concrete pumps.
Yeah. And I was like, Cameron, the cameraman, he asked him, hey, what'd you go to school for? What was your degree?
Finance.
Finance. You learn anything from college?
Not really.
Not really.
To tell you the truth, not really.
No algorithm for experience.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the truth.
I've learned a lot more as I go in the industry than I ever did in college.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of upsetting because you pay so much money for a piece of paper, you expect to get something out of it.
Drop out, kids. One of the most important things about concrete is compaction. Compaction. Obviously excavation, of course. But once the excavation is done, you have to compact. The best way to do it is with the big 1,000-pound compactor, my big boy, right? The big monster. You get it in there and just go brrrr, and it compacts the hell out of it, where it's very, very hard. After the base rock is done, now it's time for the rebar, okay? They put the rebar down and they get the rebar installed every 16 inches. Sometimes you can do 12, sometimes 16. I've even seen sometimes they do 24 inch, okay? 24, it's not a big deal, but I think 16 is probably the best way to do it. And this is really skinny ass rebar anyway. 3/8, it's no big deal. So 16 inches is fine. They mark them up, spray them up, boom, 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 lay them down. And then they tie them up. Afterwards, the dobies go on the bottom, so the concrete rests underneath the rebar and on top of the rebar. I've seen them sometimes where they just put the concrete at the bottom, and when they're pouring the concrete, they lift it up. It's kind of half-assed. I don't really like it. Not my cup of tea. Not my forte. This is nice. This is good. This is clean. One of the most important things is when you're doing it to existing concrete, you have to tie them in. So these tie into the concrete. They drill a hole into there and then they shove it in. You just shove it in. There's, I think, 4 of them tying into the existing concrete. That way, everything locks in. Very good. Very nice. When it comes to ordering concrete, I'm going to share with you math on how I do that a little bit later in the video. I'll explain to you everything. It's really simple. I wish someone would have told me this. There's no fancy calculation. Simple. Right now the boys are pouring the rest of this area. Now you notice I hired a pump. Now you don't technically need to have a pump. You can wheelbarrow it, but that's a major pain in the butt for the employees and for the concrete truck. And if you're late, guess what? The concrete truck charges you. Every 5 minutes, you're supposed to unload 1 yard. That's the limit. If you go over the limit, a couple of minutes here and there is not a big deal. But if you go over the limit by 30 minutes, sometimes, I've done that. They charge. They're not afraid to charge. That's not a problem. Right now, they're making sure everything is level and ready to go. They're gonna screed it, trowel it, do some more stuff to it, and then concrete will be ready. Dale. Making sure we have enough. We gotta make sure we have enough concrete. There is something so satisfying about watching concrete being poured. There's like goops of mud. Mud's here. Look at it. We ordered 6.5 yards, and when I looked at it, I'm like, I asked Adrian, I'm like, you think it's gonna be enough? And he's like, so I was like, all right, call him back. Ordered a yard extra. Look at this. This is crazy.
Good thing he ordered another yard. The short load would have been pretty expensive. It's a costing mistake.
$500.
Yeah, and the truck was already loaded, so luckily it was still at the yard, and they were able to load another yard on top of it.
Filling in the very last bit of the concrete.
Man, you're barely gonna have enough too, dude. Yes, sir. Alright, so for this job here today, we pumped the 50-50 blend mix. So we used a 2.5-inch hose. But for bigger commercial jobs, we usually use a 3 or 4-inch hose. These are only a 1/2 inch wider in diameter compared to the ones we use today. But that 1/2 inch makes it exponentially heavier. These hoses are 3-4 times heavier than the other hoses. So these are the big boys right here. If anyone in the Bay Area needs a concrete pump, feel free to give us a call at 408-763-0635. And I'm not trying to like talk numbers or whatever, but my overhead is pretty low, and you can tell them what I charge you for this job. I'm in and out.
Yeah, 5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
You know, I
And
was here for a couple hours.
When did you get here? 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you were ready at 7:30.
Yeah.
What time is it right now?
It's about to be 10.
10. So literally 3 hours, and you made $530.
Yeah. And right now I'm on the way to another job site in Menlo Park, and it's gonna be a bigger job. And I'll pump a few trucks out there. Probably make $1,000 at the next job.
So right now, if you were to pay an employee, you give him percentage of the pump.
Yeah, I gave him 35% of the bill,
Yeah.
and it gives him more initiative too. But that's almost equivalent to about $35 an hour.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, for them, no overhead, nothing. So, I mean, around $120 in labor, but then everything else is yours.
Yeah.
So he literally made $410 today doing this.
Super fun truck.
So now we figured out everything about the pump. We know time to get back to work. After the concrete's done, all the noise is gone, which is honestly one of my favorite parts. Now it's time to make everything level. And they take these little tools, little special tools, and they comb the edges to make sure that the edges don't stick to the existing forms and the existing concrete. Make it nice and clean. And then they have to keep troweling it, keep working it, getting all the air bubbles out, getting all the water out, and just keep going, keep going, keep going. And then eventually, after it hardens up a little bit, right now it's not too hot, so it's going to take them a lot longer. They're probably going to be here until 12:30. Then it's going to be good. Then they broom it, good to go. So this is the tool they use. This is like an actual concrete company. So this one is a little shitty one from Home Depot. I'm not the fan of these. These aren't the best. I really like the ones that you get at the concrete store. So if you don't have any concrete tools, don't go to Home Depot and start buying all those tools, because all those tools I bought year 1, year 2, literally throwing them all away. See, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just making a YouTube video about it. I've never actually done this. This is like my first time trying this. Grade me from 1 to 10. Comment below. Did I do good? Would you hire me? I'll finish your concrete all day. So these are one of the most important things. These are groovers, and it's really dirty, but I don't know. It says Tool Co. USA. Maybe you can find something like that, but they're brass. When you buy these, make sure you buy the brass ones. All the ones I bought from Home Depot, I've thrown away because they're garbage. These are so heavy. So check this out. So you take this and then you put it in the groove. Stuff like that. I don't want to do too much because I think I'll mess it up. Let's go practice over there. Wow. I did a nice job. So there's 2 different types of brooms. There's a hard stiff stifle brush, and a soft. In the beginning, I always used to buy these. But these don't do as nice of a job as a soft bristle. This is more expensive because I think this is horsehair. It's horsehair. Maybe human hair. But these are much nicer. They leave a much nicer finish. This is more rough. I don't like this. We use this. Right now everything is finished. The concrete is drying. In the wintertime, it dries a lot slower, obviously because of the heat. Right now, since the majority of the water has evaporated from the concrete, he's able to broom it. And you can see that we go from this, which is a very smooth finish. This is what garage floors are left like, to this, which is a broom finish. So it's rough. If we leave it like this, when you walk on it, when it's wet, you're just gonna go, you slip right out. But when you broom finish it, it gives a little more grip, and you won't slip as, you really won't slip. You won't slip as easy. I want to say you won't slip as easy, but honestly, you really won't slip. It's really good. The boys are finishing up. They're gonna do the little broom action, clean up, roll out. No blowing, no blowers. We don't want dust to get onto the concrete and mess everything up. So take it easy on the blower, just very light sweeping. Also, with concrete, the clock is ticking. Tick, 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 tick. So when the boys start, there's really no time to take a long lunch. There's no time to take long breaks. It's like get a little bite to eat, bang, bang, bang. You work for 5 hours and then you get to go home and you get paid for 8. So everybody loves concrete. You know, it's really fast work, very fast paced, but then at the end of the day, you get to go home. So it's around 12 o'clock right now. We're gonna go home in like 30 minutes. It's gonna be great. But first, before we end the video, I have to go back home and show you how I estimate for concrete, measure square footage. How do I calculate how many yards to order? Because concrete, it's by yardage. Let's go home. Now that we're back at the crib, I want to share with you how I do the math. It's really simple. I wish someone would have told me this years ago. I thought there was some kind of complicated formula for doing stuff like this, but there isn't. It's very simple. Now you just take the length times width of the whole thing. So I have a video of my wheel. You take my wheel and you just measure, right? So what I did was I measured the circle all the way and I walked it. I found out how many linear feet I had. Multiply that by 4, okay? And then I took the length of the width of the driveway and I added in to the other calculation. So the total square feet that I had was 1,150. Now we have 4-inch, okay, 4-inch. If it's 4-inch, you just simply push divided by 80 and you'll get 14 yards. If it's 6-inch, you just push divided by 1150 divided by 60 and you'll get 19 yards. So 6-inch is 60, 4-inch is 80. But in this case, we had 4 inches of concrete. So 1150 divided by 80. So it's 14.375 yards. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna order 16. And today, in the beginning, I told them do 10 yards and a cleanup. And I was just gonna order another 6 yards, just depending on how we're going. But today they threw a curveball at me and they delivered a truck with 8 yards. And I thought that was a 10, so I called them, I'm like, hey, give me 6.5 yards. And after I called, my pump guy, Adrian, he said, yo, T, that was an 8-yard truck. And I'm like, really? No way. And he's like, yeah, that was an 8-yard truck. Quickly called him. I'm like, hey, can you please deliver 7.5 yards? I didn't know that was an 8-yard truck. And he said, okay, we'll load you up. So they delivered 15.5 yards, okay? But my calculation was 14.375 yards. I ordered 16 in the first place. But today we actually used exactly perfect amount, 15.5 yards. So my calculation would be good. And you also got to make sure that the boys do everything correctly with the measuring. That's really important. So without further ado, I'll tell you exactly how much I spent on concrete today. Each yard costs $176 for a 6-sack 50-50 blend, 3,000 PSI. And the pump was $530. So my credit card got charged today. $3,600 was concrete and pump. Also employees for labor. That's about it. Concrete, everything I know. All you need to know. It's really simple. Keep it simple. If you want more information on this, message me, comment, DM, hit the like. Did you like this video? That's good. I thought you would. Very nice. Thank you very much. Also, you see this graph? Do me a favor. Hit the subscribe. If you don't hit the subscribe, I will come to your job site and I will ruin all your concrete and I'll destroy all your trees and I'll steal your Caterpillar. I'll even steal your truck. Okay? Thanks.